little stream on here, and today we're going to be doing a talk show about Michael Savage, if you don't know who he is. So, yeah, let's go, guys.
Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation. Talk radio for the thinking person, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
It is The Savage Nation. I'm going to talk about the death of the U.S. Marine Corps under Barack Obama. Came to me from USDefenseWatch.com. As reported this week by Military.com, Marines across the Corps will be challenged on their unconscious prejudices and presuppositions, in other words, thought control, as women get the opportunity to become Marines for the first time. Unconscious prejudices and the opportunity to become grunts for the first time. Unconscious prejudices by Marines and presuppositions defined as simple facts such as women lack the upper body strength, the aerobic lung capacity, testosterone for aggressiveness, that they're more prone to injuries, while they possess a myriad of hygiene issues in the field that men do not encounter. Those are all false. You get that out of your head. Women are not different than men. They have no hygienic differences on the field. You get that out of your mind. Where did you get that trash from, that misogynistic garbage? That's what they're going to tell the men to think about. How the Marine Corps is rolling out mandatory training for all Marines for the first time in history in order to brainwash them into believing what is false and forgetting what is real. That's Barack Obama, the liar, at work, who's on a vendetta, on a crash program to destroy the Marine Corps before he is finally sent out to pasture to ruin the world. The U.S. Marines are the latest casualty in the Maoist cultural revolution being shoved down the throat of the military and incinerating the fighting spirit and readiness of the armed forces like a five-alarm fire. They're sending out psychopathic women like Colonel Ann Weinberg, a real hero, Colonel Ann Weinberg. She's going to go around the country like modern-day Soviet Zampolits or political officers in order to brainwash officers in the Marines that putting women in combat units on the front lines is doable and unnegotiable. So I'll give you some of the examples of what they're going to do, because if I wrote this, you'd say I'm making it up and I'm biased. I'm reading an article from USDefenseWatch.com on the Savage Nation. But I'll summarize it with the end of the article. The Marine Corps rolled out a commander's toolkit of optional online classes on similar topics in late 2014 when Barry was still in his heyday, as they were getting ready to force women on the front lines. And the U.S. Marine Corps Commander's Toolkit in 2016 includes not how to defeat ISIS by killing them first, not how to shoot the enemy in the face before he shoots you in the face first, but, and I'm not making this up, there's a kit given out to commanders of the Marine Corps by Barry's insane commanders, pregnancy simulators, breast pumps, tactical lactation station overlays, red high heels, and a proper procedure to set up a unisex latrine. If I made this up, you'd say you're crazy. It's not even funny, but I'm not making it up. These are insane communists running the military, put in power by the most insane president in American history. You're going to understand why we'll never be able to win a war again, and that ISIS is laughing all their way to Geneva. We must stop these Maoist psychotics before they destroy the last great fighting force on the planet. And when we have a man in the White House who is more concerned with the economy of Mexico than he is with the economy of America, when we have a man who is like King Ludwig II, look it up, King Ludwig, the Mad King of Bavaria, who bankrupted his own treasury for his own self-aggrandizement. He built a palace on one of the lakes in Bavaria called Schloss Herrenchiemsee. He was a young king, was not ready for the job like Obama, and he was a profligate spender, and he was a madman. And he bankrupted the Bavarian treasury by building these edifices for himself, including a copy of the Palace of Versailles on this lake in Bavaria. It bankrupted the Bavarian treasury. It was a direct copy of the Palace of Versailles in the middle of nowhere in Bavaria. That's why they called him the Mad King of Bavaria, King Ludwig II. Obama is kind of a King Ludwig II. The difference is that we have no sober statesman to stop him, which they should have stopped him at Munich. That's a joke, for those of you who know what that means. If this guy had been stopped at Munich back in the first 4 years of his regime for the excesses he was pulling off on the American people, we wouldn't be in the situation we are in today. But we are in the situation. And the madman is not going to stop because no one's stopping him. No one's even criticizing him anymore. Okay, so I feel obliged to talk about this. I think it's a very big story. I can't ask you to comment on this because you can't say anything I haven't said already. Donald Trump laid out a step-by-step plan that he said would force Mexico to pay for a wall along the U.S. border. And he threatened to block billions in aid sent to Mexico by Mexican nationals. And what he said is his first step would be to propose a rule that, quote, no alien may wire money outside the United States without providing proof they are here legally. This rule would specifically regulate Western Union and other wire transfer firms by modifying the post-September 11th USA Patriot Act according to a plan released by the campaign today. Now, does anyone who listens to this show deny that came from this program? Because we put this up on the air. We said, block Western Union, but we added something to it. Remittance tax on all transfers. This specifically came from the savage nation. I didn't say block the transfer of money to Mexico from Mexican nationals living here. I said put a 4% transfer tax on all transfers to Mexico and Russia and China and Poland and Hungary and Italy and Uruguay. In other words, every transfer would have a transfer tax on it that would go to the United States of America. That's called America First. So he was attacked for this right away by the goofball in the White House, who thinks only of what's good for other countries and puts America last. I estimated $24 billion. That's the number that's quoted, by the way, by the Associated Press. That's the number used by Donald Trump. But don't confuse yourself for a minute. I am the idea man in the United States of America in radio. I don't care what anyone says or doesn't say about me. When I see my ideas being offered or used by others, I am very happy. Because I'm like Lao Tzu. I don't care who uses my ideas as long as they use my ideas. That's use enough for me. But they got it half right and they got it half wrong. I didn't say block transfers to Mexico. I said put a 4% remittance tax on all transfers to Mexico. They're not paying taxes on the money. They're basically earning money in America one way or the other, either under the table, over the table, evading taxes, avoiding taxes, getting freebies so they can afford to send money back to their home country. That's not good. If they paid their fair share of taxes here, they wouldn't be having the money, extra money to send back home. So tax it. 4% isn't enough, by the way, because 4% of $24 billion is not very much money when it's being when we're bleeding this much money that we are bleeding today. $24 billion in remittances to Mexico. It's probably much higher than that. I don't know the exact number. That's a number I came up with. Surely Donald Trump's people could have gotten better research than me. But okay, I'm glad they're using my idea. But make it a 10% tax. That's only $2.4 billion a year. That's nothing. That's chicken feed. That would hardly pay for Hillary Clinton's campaign. That would hardly pay for Michelle Obama's travels around the world and her 70 assistants for the next 5 years. So we need a higher than 10% remittance tax on the money being sent out of the country. But right away, the goofball attacks Donald Trump and doesn't think of what this means for America, the American taxpayer. He said the notion that we're going to track every Western Union bit of money sent to Mexico, good luck with that. First of all, that's a big lie. Everything that comes out of this man's mouth is political and a lie. That we know. I mean, there's no currency in me telling you Obama's a serial liar or a psychopathic liar or a pathological liar. You know that already. But his statements make no sense. First of all, they do track every Western Union transfer right now. What do you mean the idea that we can track every Western Union transfer? Good luck with that. They do it right now for tax evaders. How come they can track every rich person's transfer of money to overseas accounts and they can't track a gardener's sending of money to Mexico? That's absurd. Every Western Union transfer is recorded and noted and known. And by the way, there are laws on the books right now to track every foreign transfer going out of this country. He's lying again. He's lying specifically to protect the illegal aliens working in this country, ripping us off by not paying their fair share of taxes and sending the money home to their relatives to prop up their rotten third world socialist dictatorship back home. Other leverage points raised by Donald Trump, spelled out, include canceling visas and hiking entrance fees. Trump predicts that with $24 billion in remittances on the line, Mexico will balk. Trump said Mexicans in the U.S. send about $24 billion a year home to relatives. Again, that came directly from my last book, Government Zero. I think the number is much higher. Washington Post reports that includes all remittances sent back to Mexico from countries around the world, not just those from the U.S. I don't think that's true. Trump said his threats would be lifted after Mexico made a one-time payment of up to $10 billion. It's an easy decision for Mexico, said Donald Trump. Make a one-time payment of $5 billion to $10 billion to ensure that $24 billion continues to flow into their country year after year. Obama, of course, ridiculed the idea. He said the idea was half-baked. He said that the notion that we're going to track every Western Union bit of money as being sent, good luck with that. That's a lie. Then he said if the remittances were halted, that would lead to more immigrants coming north. Well, it wouldn't. If you had a wall, they wouldn't come north. They'd have to stay there in their own country. And then the country would be poorer than it already is, which is not my problem. My problem is the illegal immigrants coming here making this country poorer by not contributing to it. This is not all immigrants. This is not every immigrant. This is not limited to Mexico, but it's primarily Mexico that is causing the problem because we have an open, porous border created by Hillary Clinton when she was a co-president. It was, after all, it was Hillary Clinton as co-president while Bill was diddling around in the East Room, West Room, North Room, South Room, every room, North Room, East Room, West Wing, East Wing. While the business of government was being conducted, he was chasing interns around the White House. So it was Hillary who was running the country. She is the one who caused this meltdown of our economy, the meltdown of our jobs through NAFTA. Be clear about this. She's not a novice. She's not a neophyte. She's nothing new to the campaign. She's the one who wrecked everything when she was in the White House. How can you not attach NAFTA to Hillary Clinton if you're a leftist? Well, you say, well, I do. That's why I'm voting for the communist Bernie Sanders. Good luck with that. Good luck with that, yeah. Go, Bernie, go, right to Moscow. Moscow would deport him immediately because they had their share of communism. They know where this kind of nonsense leads. Now, I'm not running for office. Don't confuse me with a politician. But if my ideas are going to be used by a campaign, and I hope they are, I hope they continue to use them, they should get it right. I didn't say block all transfers. I said put a transfer tax on all transfers. At first I said 4%, but it doesn't add up to enough money. 10% isn't enough money. $2.4 billion is chicken feed for this economy. And maybe we have to put something like a 30% transfer tax on it. Now, that will deter sending the money overseas, and they may have to spend it here, which would be very good for this economy. You know, maybe they'd have to buy their own things instead of waiting for a government check or something like that. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Corruption in America has never been as great as this, so far as I can tell. Under Barack Obama, corruption is endemic. It's systemic. You know, you look back to the early days of the last century and you can read about the Teapot Dome scandal, which I learned about in high school. It brought down a government. The corruption in the United States of America has never been at this peak. Never. Under this monster in the White House, the corruption is now so out of control that a story came out today that summarizes it all. Pelosi's husband, you know who she is, don't you? Old Nancy, the green energy bumbler Pelosi. Well, the article, if it's true now, I don't know, came out today in the freebeacon.com based upon congressional financial disclosures. If it's true, it's bigger than Martha Stewart. And you know what happened to Martha Stewart? Pelosi's husband invested in a solar firm weeks before lucrative expansion, says the article, by Lachlan Markey. SunEdison is now eyeing bankruptcy. But Paul Pelosi invested right before a 2014 stock rally. House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi's husband bought up to $250,000 of stock in a now financially troubled green energy company just weeks before it announced a major 2014 acquisition that sent stock prices soaring, public records show. Now, as you well know, Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, Barbara Boxer, and the other girls from San Francisco's Sparkling Bay are all big proponents of green energy. They hate oil. They hate coal. Of course, the oil is wonderful because it produces fuel for their G5s. I think one of them flies maybe a G6 by now. I don't think they'd be caught dead in a G4 unless it was a government jet aircraft that they're not paying for at all. But it is fuel, after all. It fuels these beautiful airplanes. Sun Edison told regulators last week that it is eyeing bankruptcy under the weight of $11.7 million in debt. But in late 2014, says the article, investors were bullish on the company, which manufactures and operates solar and wind power facilities. Barry Obama loves solar and wind. Loves solar and wind. Hates coal and oil. In its 2014 purchase of wind energy company First Wind further bolstered the reputation of the company, wrote one market watcher at the time. And, quote, perhaps unsurprisingly, Sun Edison stocks soared an astonishing 29% on news of this acquisition alone. Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, had invested just in time, you see. Just in time, just by chance. Now, I'm watching the show Billions. There are federal prosecutors that look into insider trading. But in the West Coast, there is no federal prosecutor. We don't have a Parid Barra. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing the gentleman's name, but in New York State, they have a New York attorney named Mr. Barra who put away the most powerful politician in the state next to Governor Cuomo. Mr. Holy Roller himself, Sheldon Silver, was marched away in handcuffs for a lifetime of insider trading and other shenanigans. But on the West Coast, you see, we have no U.S. attorney. They don't exist. It's a Wild West out here. Still the Wild West. The article goes on. Pelosi's office did not respond to questions about the timing of the purchase and whether she or her husband had any advanced knowledge of the deal, says the article. The Teapot Dome scandal was nothing compared to what I just read to you. Nothing whatsoever. So what do you do when you have a corrupt president who permits the endemic nature of corruption to seep through all the halls of Congress? What you do is you impeach him. Isn't that true? So why did the Republicans fail to impeach him all these years? Because they are part of the same one-party system. You know, in every novel, every story, there's a beginning, middle, and an end, and there's usually a hero and a villain. And we all like to see that the hero in the end wins and the villain gets punished.